drive to right field. This ball is gone. Gone and into the history books.
The Seattle Mariners, Felix Hernandez, the 2-2. He got it! 34 years, 119 games. It's finally happened. A perfect game by a Seattle Mariner. It was done by the King.
And the 0-1 pitch on the way to Edgar Martinez. Swung on and line down the left field line for a base hit. Here comes Joy. Here is Junior to third base. They're going to wave him in. The throw to the plate will be late. The Mariners are going to play for the American League Championship. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my. And they are going crazy at the Kingdom.
Welcome to the Corner of Edgar and Dave, your Seattle Mariners baseball fan podcast. I'm Jacob, here with my brother Nick, and it is one of our favorite times of the year. It is tier list time. This episode, after we get through a little bit of news, we're going to be ranking every single Seattle Mariners on our tier lists. But first, Nick, it's been a long time. Like we're just perpetual slackers. I always have these grand plans that we're gonna do the podcast in a timely fashion. Like it's the middle of November. Like the World Series ended 2 weeks ago?
It's been a while.
And I thought we were gonna do a before the World Series podcast. So I mean,
we did talk about doing it before the World Series. But
do you even remember what happened this baseball season? Because it's going to be very crucial today that we have some sort of idea what happened this last season.
I mean, yeah. So if I was paying attention, it looked like the Mariners won the World Series, right?
Holy shit! I missed that. Whoops. I suppose. Whoops.
I could just be wrong. You never know.
Whoops. Whoopsie daisies. I'm trying to figure out where I should have done this before. I'm trying to figure out where I saved our mid-year tier list. Unfortunate that I did not come prepared with that. Anyways, I know you wanted to talk about the World Series, or is there anything else going on you want to talk about? We could mix it up and start a podcast actually talking about baseball.
If we have to. I feel like that's the less fun part of the episodes, but just kidding.
Yeah, anyways, the Atlanta Braves, your Atlanta Braves won the World Series, and I say your in the sense that they defeated the evil Houston Astros in 6 games? 5 games? 6 games?
6 games, just
Six
like
games.
That one guy predicted, Ryan Plouffe.
Yeah,
I'm sure you know about the Ryan Plouffe thing, right?
No, what did he say?
So turns out professional baseball is rigged because 2 days before the spring training started, this dude named Ryan Plouffe sent out a tweet, and he's like John Boy? I think he works with John Boy. He's like one of his buddies.
Okay.
But so he sent out a tweet that just said, Atlanta beats Houston in 6.
I mean, what a call.
Yeah, what a call.
What a call. How do you do that? Oh, I found it.
I don't know.
Mid-year M's 2021. I found it. Okay.
Yeah, but it turns out baseball is rigged, so.
Damn.
Sorry, guys.
I thought it was the NBA that was rigged.
I guess
it was baseball the whole time?
It was baseball the whole time.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm shocked. Okay. That's something. That's not nothing. That's something.
Yeah.
For
Pretty
me,
incredible.
the absolute... I mean, I love it. Every single time a team wins a championship, you have fans that come out of the woodwork or bandwagon fans. Do you know who was the one that I saw that was taking a lot of credit for the Braves World Series? I was really basking in that glory. That would maybe surprise you. Our sister, Kristen... absolutely was posting all these pictures from the 90s of her wearing an old Braves jacket and having different Braves stuff and a t-shirt, and I was just like, dang, this is you're just gonna claim this, huh? I haven't heard you say a word about the Braves
That's funny.
15 to 20 years, and you're claiming this. This is what you're.
That's
okay.
really, really funny.
I was like, that's fine. Claim that dub.
I believe that sister of ours now listens to our podcast.
Oh, really?
Our mom was trying to tell her about it while I was at their house the other day, so I would assume she's now a listener.
I was like, fine. Claim that dub. I just didn't know. I'm happy for her as a long time struggling Braves fan. I know it's been a long, arduous journey, but I'm glad that she got to feel this one.
Yeah.
Hearts out to all the Braves fans out there. They really struggled.
As a closet Braves fan myself, I gotta tell you, I was pretty excited when they won. One of the people in my big Discord group is a huge Braves fan.
Yeah.
So we were sitting in there celebrating together.
Very nice. I do believe I haven't actually looked these up, and that's not part of this episode. We still have to do the episode where we review all of our predictions from the beginning of the year.
Okay.
I know that we did a power rankings, and I'm pretty sure I didn't even include the Braves in my top 10. So
no,
obviously,
and I thought I was actually kind of pissed about it because I remember putting them in like my top 5 or 6.
You did. I believe you did.
You were like, the Braves fucking suck!
I didn't have them anywhere. Around, hands in the air. To be fair,
they did rebuild their team halfway through the season.
Yeah, and they didn't exactly have a great season. They won the World Series, so they had a good season. But I don't think there's anyone out there that can really argue, like, oh yeah, the Braves really dominated this season. Really great job there. Wire to wire, they did it. I want to say, like, they didn't even have a playoff spot until like the final month of the season, and it helped that all their opponents in their division just absolutely crapped the bed, and they didn't. Didn't the Mariners have a better record than the Braves?
The Mariners did have a better record than the Braves, but they were playing in the NL Beast, and so you can't count out the NL Beast.
The NL Beast. What good teams were there? It was the Phillies were good for a little bit, but they weren't really that good. The Mets.
Oh my
God,
Mets you're such a fucking hater.
The Mets were terrible, and they held on to the division lead for most of the season, and they were an awful baseball team.
Yeah, I don't know. Definitely looks like a shit show division, but going into the season, it looked like all of those teams were going to be crazy good.
I mean, it looked like it was going to be competitive,
but still really good. But
I'm just done. I'm never going to I remember the beginning of the season riding high on the Mets, being like, oh, they've got an easy division. They should be fine, and they were a disappointment the entire season. So I'm officially right here. You can write it down. November 13th. Jacob quits the Mets. I'm quitting the Mets. No. I'm never putting my faith in them ever again. I've officially quit the Mets.
Most people were fucking big on the Mets, and they are fucking bad. And they
it's
even
like
went
every
out
year.
and got Javier Baez, and they looked like they were even worse after they did that.
You know what it is I'm susceptible to advertising. That's what it is. I've learned this. I had to work a women's basketball game this morning. In the last 2 women's basketball games on Thursday and on Saturday, they've shown this ad for Jimmy John's, and it's them putting on a sandwich, putting the red wine vinegar on one of their sandwiches in slow motion. And I've been I was dying for a Jimmy John's. I went and got Gabby and I Jimmy John's for lunch on my way home from the basketball game. I'm susceptible to advertising, and the New York media advertising giants, they got me. They keep getting me over and over again, but I'm officially no longer listening. I will not hit buy on the Mets. I will not believe in the Mets ever again.
I thought it was really strange because so even before the preseason had really started, so Cohen bought the team, right? I don't know how to say his name. Cohen?
Sure.
Cohen? Okay.
Yeah.
So Cohen bought the team, and as soon as he bought that team, it seemed like everybody on the planet was just like, the Mets won the World Series. It's fucking free. 2021 Mets are just going to win everything.
Well, because they also went and got Lindor, right?
Okay,
they got some pieces. They started spending some money.
But before they even went and got Lindor, people were like, it's over. They've won everything. And so literally all they did in their offseason was add Lindor, and that's it. They added Lindor, and then they started their season with their regular roster, which I guess includes McNeil and Pete Alonso. And Robinson Cano is out for the season, so not great for them.
They had your boy, though. Your boy had a bounce-back year, didn't he? Sugar Diaz?
Yes, he did. Really good season. I actually think he ended the season with a sub-2 ERA, right?
I don't really know. I'm pretty sure he had a better year than he had the year before, so...
No, he had a really good year, and even better, next year he goes into free agency, and maybe the Mariners will take a run at his contract, huh?
Ooh la la! Oh, so you want to make the best bullpen in baseball even bester, huh?
Yes, I would like to make it even better.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. We got some time. We got some time before that, though. That'll be a nice little piece after we're coming off
team.
of.
Don't root for them. Ow! Oh my God! Sorry, I just got attacked by my cat. Ow!
After we're coming off our first World Series and we're looking to repeat, that'll be a really nice piece to add. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to add after getting that first World Series dub. That's how.
No, for sure. In this offseason, we're definitely going to be adding Trevor Story, Corey Seager, and Marcus Semien, and then we're just going to win the World Series, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool.
I mean, that's definitely part of the plan.
Yeah, cool. Okay, yeah.
All right. So in order to do that,
Story...
we did have to let some people go, right? We've had some people that have left the team. Some of the notable ones, a lot of the ones we're going to talk about today. Did I include on our tier maker? Did I include one James Paxton? I don't think I did because he pitched all of like 20 pitches for us this season. But James Paxton elected free agency. Kyle Seager elected free agency and all the drama that came along with that. Some of these guys we'll talk about. Shed Long elected free agency. We'll talk about him. Sean Doolittle, Hector Santiago out of the bullpen elected free agency, and then Kikuchi. We'll talk about it in just an absolute wild move. Turned down $13 million contract player option with the Mariners to elect free agency. And then Jose Marmoleos, who I think I have on here, also elected free agency. So of the guys we're not going to talk about when we get to the tier maker, that being Pax, Doolittle, and Santiago, is there anything you want to say? I mean, particularly maybe about Pax, like, kind of a bummer this year that we didn't even get to play him, and I don't really know. I haven't kept up on the news exactly if he's going to be someone who we're going to target. I kind of don't get the feeling that we're going to, only because I haven't heard anything about it.
I have absolutely no idea what Paxton's market was. I know he gave him $8 million this year to not play, so that's cool. Good for him, right?
I mean, just what a business.
I will say he had a really, I'm going to say, prolific spring training, and everyone was super fucking hyped because he was like actually throwing fucking rockets all spring training.
Yeah, he had an absolutely great. That's probably the thing that's most disappointing is because he had an absolutely fantastic spring training. Like he looks
literally
nuts.
First game comes in, throws to two guys, and is like, "Dude, my arm hurts," and then fucking never comes back. Unfortunate.
Yeah. Brutal, absolutely brutal. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, compared to how you feel about losing, obviously this is a different situation, but losing Taiwan to a trade at the deadline last year, like does it hurt more that we didn't get even a taste of Pax, or did it hurt that we got an awesome Taiwan and then he left mid-year, and I think he signed with the Mets and he had a solid year, didn't he?
He has like a 3 or 4 year contract remaining.
Yeah, so I mean, good for him. He's getting paid big money. Like he seems healthy.
He gets to play in New York.
Like, was it more devastating to you losing someone who was like absolute, studly for us, like Taiwan Walker last year, or losing Pax for the whole season when it's like, I mean, look how close we were. If we had a Pax that was even close to what he was doing in spring training, is it hard to believe that we wouldn't have been a playoff team this year?
For me, there's two things to go into it. I'm gonna say Taiwan hurt me more when we traded him away, for these two reasons. One, Taiwan. I really like Taiwan. I really like his personality. I really like his energy, and I like what he brings to the club. And he's a really good pitcher, like just on top of it, right?
Yeah.
And two, we know Pax is injury prone. So as soon as we picked up his contract and we like overpaid him, because like nobody was offering him like a multi-year contract and nobody was offering him like $8 million plus, right? There's a reason he signed with the Mariners.
Yeah.
Right. And so as soon as he got hurt, it was like, oh yeah, we all knew this was coming. I don't know.
Yeah, so we should have expected it. It's hard to be hurt by a thing you knew was coming, right?
I mean, I'm going to assume the Yankees knew that he needed Tommy John surgery like 13 months ago. And he just didn't do it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, as soon as the Yankees decided to let a guy of his caliber go, like everyone should know that there's something going on behind the scenes, and it was just a bad time to pick him up.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a bummer because he looked so good to start it all off, right?
I just don't understand the point of putting yourself through that. I mean, I guess I can understand securing a contract in a season that you're not going to be playing. But fuck, dude, just get the Tommy John surgery. Like, so at this point, like, you're 33 years old, and you're coming off of like basically 3 lost seasons in a row, and the last one you're like completely out recovering from Tommy John surgery. Like, who is going to give you the opportunity to pitch? And even if you get it, how much leeway are you going to have, right?
Do you blame like Dipoto and the management at all for not having a better backup plan?
No.
Or did they have a backup plan? Because the backup plan realistically was Sheffield, Dunn, Marco, Flexen, and Kikuchi. Like, that's 5,
Margavicius,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, Margavicius. And then Margavicius gets hurt, Dunn gets hurt, Justice is terrible. Like, I guess they had a backup plan. They had many backup plans, right?
They just, every single thing fell through.
Everything went wrong. I mean, we basically had like a 3-man rotation by the end there.
Yeah, I mean, so we started with a 6-man rotation. 4 of those guys got injured and never recovered, right? So their only option was to trade for pitchers, starting pitching, which they did for Tyler Anderson. But they didn't go out and get anybody else because every other fucking team in the league realized how the Mariners were desperate for starting pitching. Because we, at this point, even if we signed 2, we're still planning on doing 1 bullpen day, right? Oh, and Marco was hurt for like half the season too.
Yeah, sure. The first half of the season, Marco was hurt or he was out on paternity.
Yeah. So no, I don't know. The price was just so high, and there's nothing they could have done realistically. Like, I mean, I guess you could say the thing they could have done is keep their guys healthier, but can't.
And I think part of the reason the price is so high, and something that we'll get to in our next podcast when we start to look towards off-season signings, is that there isn't really a great starting pitching free agent class this year, right? So usually the guys that are available for the right price on the market are guys that are going into free agency. They have less than a year remaining on their contract, right? And so if the free agent class is really bad, you can assume that the
starting pitching price is going to be higher.
Yes, exactly. Starting pitching prices are going to be higher because anyone you're trading for multiple years of access.
So, I mean, if you look at the starting pitching class or free agent class right now, the best pitcher out of the group is Max Scherzer, who's 37 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to offer him?
And he went...
Or, like, is he a guarantee?
For some good prospects, too. Like.
Oh, for sure, right. Absolutely.
Los Angeles said good prospects, and that's why they got both him and Trey Turner going to the Dodgers, right? I mean, they had to send off some good prospects.
The only 2 like traditional mega free agent starting pitchers are Robbie Ray, who I don't know your opinion on Robbie Ray, but I think he's super overrated, and Marcus Stroman. Yeah. And I think Marcus Stroman is even more overrated than Robbie Ray.
I actually like Stro. Robbie Ray, he had a really great season this year. It's undeniable. That the one thing about Robbie Ray is he had a fantastic season this year.
Didn't he win the Cy Young?
Did he? I don't know. I know he was definitely in contention. Like, he was one of the best American League pitchers, and he was nuts for the Blue Jays.
That's great, no. I'm glad he had a good year right before his free agency. But I'm not like, if the Mariners picked up Robbie Ray, I wouldn't be like, woo, yeah, we really won this offseason. I'd be like, fuck, we really just spent $25 million a year on that guy? Fuck.
So is there anything... I honestly haven't seen anything, which makes me think that this isn't really an option. But, like, news on, like, do you go get Pax? Because, you've got some good starting pitching coming up,
No,
they've already graduated Logan Gilbert. They're looking to graduate a couple more guys.
If I was Jerry Dipoto and the management boys, realistically, there are a lot of starting pitchers on the trade market that I would go for. I know if you look at the 2 clubs that have already told everybody they're basically trying to sell every player on their team, you can look at the A's and you can look at the Reds, right?
Yeah.
And
I know the Mariners have already been linked to the Reds, Luis Castillo. Yes.
And Luis Castillo is literally the best guy they could go out and get. So as soon as I saw the Mariners are already linked to a trade option with Luis Castillo, I would give up a top 10 prospect for Luis Castillo. I'll be completely honest with you. I think he's that good. And I would also probably give up a top 10 prospect. Not Julio, of course, right? Not Julio.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Like Julio or even like
Marte.
What about? Oh, that's what I was going to say. Like you give up Marte for Luis Castillo.
So the only three I wouldn't give up would be Marte, Rodriguez, and Jared. But I could see them trading like.
What about any of the pitching guys? What about like Hancock or Kirby?
Based off the starting pitching situation with Justin Dunn, Justice Sheffield, and Sam Margevicius, I would say keep those guys, but try to trade out some of these bats that you do not have room for anymore. So you could trade out like high value guys, maybe like I said, Jake Fraley, Donovan Walton. I would even consider trading Kyle Raleigh, even though at this point you might be trading low on him, right? But he just doesn't look good. I'll be honest with you. Like,
well, I mean, speaking of guys that they don't have spots for, going back to Noelvi Marte, like he's an infielder. If we go out and sign one or two infielders, we don't realistically have a spot for him. Is he trade bait then?
But like Noelvi Marte looks like he's the next fucking A-Rod.
No, I mean, he's gonna be a stud. He's gonna be a stud. He just might not be a stud for us.
He's 17 years old and he's built like a fucking tank. So he's literally got like the muscle of Daniel Vogelbach with the athleticism of J.P. Crawford. Like the dude actually looks like
that's high praise.
He actually looks like an Omega superstar. And if he can continue to develop at the rate like the Mariners system thinks he's going to, like holy shit, like he actually looks like an MVP candidate at this point.
So are you saying do you like him better than like Kelenic or
I do. Noelvi Marte, I actually like him better than both of our mega outfield prospects.
That's your boy, huh? That's who you're hitching to.
Yeah.
I like the commitment. I'll
write my name in the sand, and I'm gonna do it probably 2 years early. So when he fucking pans out, come back to this fucking podcast and post it everywhere, okay?
You're better. You're saying that's MVP, better than the other guys.
And
absolute
also,
nuts.
Realistically, after this year. Gotta tell you, Luis Torrens probably doesn't have a place in the starting roster, considering they don't like him as catcher, so he's only playing first base and DH. But if you look at who our first basemen are, it's Evan White and Ty France, right?
Well, and they might have to find the DH position for one of these young guys, like one of the outfielders.
Right, but they've already talked about wanting to continue like a rotational DH position because like Luis Torrens hitting at a WRC plus of like 113. Not that great from a DH perspective, right?
Yeah, for a guy that's not in the field,
he's not an Edgar
and not having to catch. Yeah.
So
it's one of those things. It's like he's just not a good catcher. I distinctly remember at the beginning of the year, the thing is catching is tough. Like it just is. Catching is tough, but like
he can't. On him,
he can't frame a pitch. He can't block a pitch. Like he can't throw down to second. You know, at least at the major league level, right? I mean, he's not a chump, but at the major league level, there's guys that are better at that.
Yeah, I mean, there's also like high upside like reliever guys they could trade away, like Johan Ramirez, Anthony Mezowicz. They could probably trade away Drew Steckenrider if they wanted, but I actually think he had a fantastic season, right? They could also trade away Dylan Moore, who like doesn't look like he has a place in the field. I know his fielding is fucking great, but like,
is there no value? Like, the only thing I think about Dylan Moore that I'm surprised he hasn't even been like released yet or anything, just because like. I just don't know if there's even any trade value in Dylan Moore.
I don't know. I think there's actually a lot of trade value on like any guy who's proven they can play 8 different positions. Right?
Okay, like a super utility Dylan Moore. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Mariners have kept him around. And I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to lock him up to like a 3 or 4 year contract for like $20-25 million.
Well, and if he can go back to hitting how he was hitting in 2020, like obviously the power's got to be there still, right?
Super value, right? Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Okay.
But
anything else? I think we got to get. I think we got to get into the tier list though.
I don't know. I feel like I'm really cutting right into the free agency stuff because it's been on my mind.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? That free agency pod. That's a good teaser for our next pod. We got to though. Get into our tier list. Okay. And I know that you've already gone ahead and prepared yours.
I did.
And I think in the interest of not fighting each other, are we just like doing them separate, or are we trying to come to a consensus?
I think the last tier list we did, instead of coming to a consensus and having like a podcast official one, we just posted both of ours, and I kind of like that better.
All right, let's do that then.
Okay.
Right. Alphabetically, first off the bat is one of the guys we mentioned, the guy that we traded for, that was pretty good, except for when he wasn't, was Tyler Anderson. Tyler. Let's see. I want to give you his statisticals. He had a 4.81 ERA with the Mariners in 13 games, 13 of which he started. Gave up 11 home runs on the year, and 34 total earned runs. And he went 2 wins and 3 losses with the Mariners. He was a mid-year acquisition. What's that?
It's worth saying that his ERA was super bloated by his last 2 or 3 starts, where he was pitching on 2 or 3 days rest and just clearly didn't have the energy to keep going.
Yes. So we talked about, obviously when we talked about the end of the year, talked about Tyler Anderson, where he got blown up by the Angels, couldn't get out of the second inning, came back and pitched nuts against the Athletics. And then in the final day of the season, I believe,
imploded against the Angels again.
Got absolutely wrecked by the Angels. So the Angels had his number. Obviously, this isn't a guy that was on our original tier list. He would be untiered for us. And I guess I should mention, too, before we get too deep into it, some of the guys that we're not going to include in tier that had left the team at mid-year. Someone like Kendall Graveman we had at the A tier. It's obviously not going to be ranked this time. Someone like,
So if they're gone, they're not going to be here.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I just took we got 38 guys to rank here. I pretty much took the ones that were relevant at the end of the season. So Kendall Graveman, we had him at the A tier. We're not going to be ranking him this time. Just briefly, I think.
Worth saying that if we did, he would be an easy S.
Yes, I think that's worth saying. He would be still up there at least A, if not higher. He had a great year with Houston after we traded him. Someone else, I just want to go through them quickly before we finish up on Tyler Anderson. I didn't include Hector Santiago on here just because after we tiered him, he didn't really play with us the rest of the season. He got obviously suspended for PEDs, and there was obviously a little drama with him with using the foreign substance. He was actually the only player in baseball this year that had to miss games because of that. We had him in the B tier last time. I think I probably would just knock him down just a slight peg, C tier.
I would absolutely keep him in B tier if he was on here because he's got main character syndrome for me. Because he keeps having to face adversity.
That's true.
Almost doesn't seem fair.
That's true.
I like that shit. I don't know, man.
Let's see. Will Vest, we had him tiered, and both Will Vest and Robert Duggar, we had them in the C tier at mid-year.
And Duggar got waiver traded or waiver claimed.
Yeah, and Duggar
Will Vest had to be returned to Detroit.
Yeah, Will Vest, right? Yeah, so Will Vest, we had to send him back to Detroit after we tried to send him down. Detroit took him back. So we lost him at mid-year. Robert Duggar, again, pitched for us at the beginning of the year, was okay, but didn't pitch for us. He only pitched 1 game in August before we had to send him away.
And it wasn't good.
So I would keep them in probably C tier the same. Look at the rest of this list. Keenan Middleton, another guy that pitched for us, was pretty solid at the beginning of the year, then kind of really fell off, and then he was sent down, and we never saw him again. I might even drop him to D tier just how hard he fell off and how incomplete his season actually was.
Especially because we traded away for him, and he was pretty good with the Angels, and he was fucking terrible with the Mariners. So losing resources for him and then him having failing so spectacularly easy D tier.
And then the last 2 I think I have on here that we're not going to be ranking this time would be both Rafael Montero and Wyatt Mills, who I had in the D tier. And Montero, we paid him so much money, just absolutely nothing for us. I think they thought he was going to be the closer at the beginning of the year, and it was just absolute disappointment. Wyatt Mills, I think, was just a young guy that didn't really get to spend a lot of time kind of going up and down, so just not. Oh, and then LJ Newsome, someone else who we put at the D tier, who just really disappointed this year and is not on the team anymore. So, yeah, those are the guys that last time we had ranked that we're not going to be ranking this time. Probably not too much movement on any of them anyways. Anyways, Tyler Anderson, out of curiosity, where did you put Tyler Anderson?
I put him in the B tier.
That was actually 100% my instinct because he was solid, and I kind of mentioned earlier, and we're going to be talking about this as we talk about all the starting pitchers, that by the end of the year, we pretty much had a 3-person rotation. It was Marco, Chris Flexen, and Tyler Anderson.
Yeah, because
Kikuchi struggled. Eventually, Kikuchi was just pulled, and we went to a 4-man rotation. And then Logan Gilbert, despite having an overall super solid first season, was absolutely useless in the final month.
I think he just got tired and stressed out.
Yeah, just a young guy couldn't keep up with the pace.
He's a rookie pitcher, and he's in a playoff run. Fuck, I would be stressed out of my fucking mind every day I had to go out there and pitch.
Yeah. So I think for me, Tyler Anderson, he is the epitome, I think, of a super solid B-tier player. The kind of player that you have to have on your team to win championships. And, again, he was part of our 3 horsemen, basically, that were doing all the work from the starters in the second half of the season. And he was really good at what he did. He ate up innings. He got outs. He did the job he had to do. If that's not a perfect B-tier guy, I literally don't know what is.
I mean, it's worth saying that, a 4.8 ERA is not good. But like we were saying, before the last, 2 or 3 games in the season, he was pitching, a 3.9 with Seattle.
Yeah, he got really hurt by those last couple games.
He got really fucking shit-canned in the ERA department at the very end. But before that, he was great, and I'm not going to hold those 2 games against him.
No, it just falls under, it happened. You're not going to be perfect every game. And the reality is that did not lose us. Well, we couldn't have caught the way things panned out on that final day of the season. It was actually impossible for us to catch the Yankees.
Yes,
or
because we
Boston.
had to win that Marco game, but we got fucking shut out on that Marco game.
Yeah, and the reality is that you can definitely blame it. In the final 2 super important times, he just got absolutely lit up. If you wanted to, you could blame us being too many games behind on those final performances, but altogether the bats were not that good at the end of the year, right? They really struggled. They were putting a lot of pressure on the starting pitching staff and the bullpen, and to me, these guys, they did everything they could, especially when it comes to Chris, Marco, and Tyler. They did everything they could. I'm actually kind of bummed. Tyler Anderson is one of the guys we mentioned that has elected free agency, and it totally makes sense. I think he's actually someone that I wouldn't have a problem at all with the Mariners retargeting, right? To at least go after him and see and ask what his price is. And if his price is in the right spot for us, this would be someone I'd be very happy to have as my number 4, number 5 pitcher.
Yeah.
I think if Tyler Anderson is your number 5 pitcher, you're in a really good spot. I think you're in a really good spot for the year if Tyler Anderson's your number 5 pitcher, especially for someone that we're putting in the B tier. If your number 5 pitcher is a B tier player, that's really stinking good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, yeah. And we're talking about pitching's at a premium, and realistically, I know Robbie Ray, almost, won the Cy Young, or did win the Cy Young, but, if we missed Robbie Ray and picked up Tyler Anderson and, fucking another, minor pitcher, I'd be totally fine with that.
Yeah, so you're kind of thinking he'd be a good kind of gap piece, right? Because the free agent class is so bad this year, if we're not able to trade for the right pieces to round out our rotation, Tyler Anderson would be the perfect kind of gap player, right, to fill the year between free agent classes.
Yeah.
All right, B tier for both of us. Next up is Jake Bowers. I'll go first this time. I had him in the B tier at the mid-year, and I thought he was pretty solid when he first joined us, and he really fell off in the second half of the year. I would actually drop him down to D tier because he was basically non-existent and irrelevant and was sent down to AAA for us by the end of it because he struggled so bad. Let me look at his stats before you say where you put him. Might give you better insight. Yeah, it's just, I think that's the right word, right? Is irrelevant.
He was a non-at-bat.
Let's see if I can find him. Where are you at, Bowers? Oh, there you are. So he played in 72 games for the Mariners. He hit 220 with a I'll just give you a slash. He slashed 220, 297, 275. So Wolf. He hit 2 home runs with us.
He slugged 275. That's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Yeah,
That's so low.
It's not good. And he played. He played a lot of games with us. He played because he was our first trade. I think we traded for him early in the season.
No, we waiver claimed him.
Waiver claim, right? Yeah, we waiver claimed him super early in the season because he was batting like 160 or 170 with the Indians.
Really
now
sad
Guardians with the Guardians.
Really
excuse me.
Where he's. Oh, is he back with the Guardians?
No. I'm just saying. Like I said, the Indians. And I said, excuse me, the Guardians, as we refer to them now.
No, they were the Indians when he played with them, so not really fair. It's like
just trying to be a little PC.
Okay, all right.
Just trying to cover my ass.
Okay, well, do whatever you gotta do. I mean, I'm gonna keep saying them that the previous teams were the Indians and the Guardians now, but that's fine. Okay. What was I trying to say?
I don't know. Jake Bowers. Oh, where'd you put him?
Really hungry when he first came with the team.
Yes.
Well, I think it's almost really sad considering that he was a first-round draft pick from the Cleveland Indians, and he was like a top 5 draft pick on his year.
I want to say
see where he's fallen is just goddamn. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, I want to say too, just to interrupt you, I think that when he came over, he was hitting like 300 with us for the first like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then so he really fell off, and again he just kind of became irrelevant. Like I hate to say, he's a young guy, and I know that he is elected free agency. Supposedly it is Jerry DiPoto's intent to try and re-sign him, so that's maybe some good news. Like there's promise there. There just is, right? We saw it. We saw it over a short period. There's promise, but if you look at his season objectively, it's just a whole lot of nothing.
He kind of reminds me of Patrick Wisdom.
Okay. I think it's fair.
And I mean,
we also needed I will say this at the time we needed a first baseman because Evan Whitehead got hurt. Ty France was still hurt. He still wasn't 100% himself yet. Plus, he started off the season not
playing second
and playing terribly too. Like Ty France had a terrible beginning of the season, and so Jake Bowers, I will give him credit where credit is due. He came in and he locked down first base and he hit when we needed him to, but just couldn't keep it up throughout the season. And it'll be interesting. I would like them to re-sign him to a minor league contract to see what happens. I think that as in terms of like D tier players, he's probably the only D tier player I would say that about. All right, next up, Diego Castillo. Nick, this is your boy. I know this trade made you very excited. Obviously marred in controversy this entire trade process for the Mariners in the sense that the Mariners had a huge win against the Astros that immediately traded our best bullpen piece in Kendall Graveman to the Astros, who we had just beat, who we were in a race for the division. And then later, a couple days later, in order to fill that Kendall Graveman-sized hole, Jerry DiPoto goes and trades for Diego Castillo. And I know this was a guy you were excited about. Where did you land on Diego this year?
Unfortunately, didn't totally pan out with Diego. He underperformed when he got here. I will say he was at least a replacement level player with the Mariners the entire time he was with us.
And he's someone who's going to be here. The reality too is he's someone who's going to be here for a while. He's not like 4 years. He still has 2 more.
I think he has 2 or 3 more years of arboration.
I thought it was even longer than that, but yeah.
We're going to see him. Oh, it might be. I don't know. But I know we're going to see him for a while. We will have at least a couple more years with him.
And at the end of the day, I'm
happy with him. Like I said, I always trade for him in all of the show franchises every single year.
I remember you were the most excited, I think, when we made that trade.
He's got some nasty stuff, and I think maybe he was either a little overworked from being a Ray, because they rely heavily on their bullpen, or maybe just the pitching conditions are so different between Florida and Seattle that something really threw him off while he was pitching here, and I don't know. It's a little concerning, but I ended up putting him in the B tier, and I think I could see him rising up to the A tier again. For me.
Yeah. For sure. I'm trying to find. I wanted to find his salary sitch. His earliest free agency is 2025.
Which is 4 years away.
Yeah, he's arbitration eligible after this year.
Okay.
After 2022. So
we will at least see him for 4 more years.
Yeah,
unless they non-tender him.
Yeah, around that amount. Honestly, wait, where did you land on him tier-wise?
B.
I think that's pretty fair. I actually thought that you were going to put him lower because of your disappointment. Stats,
I like him too much.
statisticals wise, he had a 2.86 ERA with a strikeout to walk rate of 3.71. Ended up giving 4 home runs on the year with a 3-1 record. I think B is super fair. I don't really have much more to add. I think I'm a little bit more optimistic than you are. He definitely had some bad moments, right? Like there were some moments where it was kind of like, oof, like not good. Like he blew some games or that. So
he blew some games immediately after coming over too.
Yeah, I will say like the bad moments, unfortunately for Diego, probably stand out more than the good moments. But like if you look at his numbers, like this is good. This is a guy that's going to be. He came to a already good bullpen, and he's going to add to it. He maybe isn't going to be that closer for us that he was with Tampa Bay, but also I'm pretty sure he's the only guy on this entire team with postseason and World Series experience. So that's dope.
I just read this. Mike Brasso was traded from the Rays to our second favorite team, the Milwaukee Brewers.
Oh, very nice.
And I'm surprised by that because I thought he was a really good player, and I don't know why the Rays would be selling. But the Rays are always like selling, and I have no idea.
They're moving. They're movers. They're not sellers. They're not buyers. They're movers. They swindle around and move things around and shake it up. That's how they do it.
Seems like a really good acquisition for Milwaukee, though.
For sure.
All right. Sorry.
Next up, actually
really
an interesting point of comparison, which is kind of why I included him on here, is alphabetically the next person is JT Chargois, who, coincidentally, was the one major league player that we actually traded for Diego Castillo. He played in a lot of games with us. Chargois played in 31 games with the Mariners, had a
really good.
A 3.0 ERA, 1 win, no losses, had a strikeout to walk rate of 4.83. Which is fantastic. I think that's it's not the highest on the team this season. That's going to go to LJ Newsome, which obviously that stat doesn't tell you everything, does it? But Chargois gave a couple home runs, 10 earned runs on the year. Honestly, just pretty good. Like, bullpen guy with a 3 ERA, like, you're pretty happy about that.
Yeah,
I think one thing
I thought Chargois was really good. He was one of the guys who, when he came in, I was like, oh yeah, we're winning this game.
Yeah, I think one thing, just as a point of comparison, like, is that an even trade? I actually like Castillo better, I think. I think Chargois I would put at the C tier, and maybe that's just me being a biased Mariners fan who wants to, like, quote-unquote, win the trade.
So I will say, short term, we lost this trade, because JT Chargois was way better in the remainder of the season. I ended up putting him at the A tier, because I thought he was incredible for a bullpen arm from the Mariners, and he was one of the guys. I mean, realistically, for the first half of the season, there were 4 guys you could always rely on when they came in for a bullpen situation. It was Casey Sadler, Paul Sewell, JT Chargois, and Kendall Graveman.
Maybe I have to bump him up to B tier then. I'm looking back at mid-year, and I did have him as a B tier, and I don't see how you can drop after he was equally the same and got traded. So
yeah. And and that was a good trade for us. I mean, realistically, so Chargois had 2 years of control left, and Diego Castillo had 4 years of control left. So, kind of just traded for more value, right?
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, next up, I'm going to give you a crack at one Mr. J.P. Crawford, someone who we ranked in the S tier at the mid-year level. Played in 160 games with us, so he only missed 2 games. Okay.
Cool. I still have him in the S tier.
Yeah, he slashed 273, 338, 376. Just missed out this year on getting his second Gold Glove. I actually think Major League Baseball, the writers or voters or whoever decides this made a mistake. I mean, obviously we're biased, but I think J.P. Crawford is the best defensive player in baseball. The most valuable. I think he's the most valuable defensive player in baseball. The person who would beat him out. I think you told me earlier won the Platinum Glove in Carlos Correa with the Houston Astros.
One all-time cheater and crazy bastard that we don't like.
I mean, just a not good person. Conversely, on the other hand,
just
J.P.
an
Crawford,
undesirable human being.
Yeah, J.P. Crawford is distinctly a very good person. So if that has any bearing whatsoever, absolute scumbag, quality human being. I don't know where you value those things personally, but to me it matters a little bit.
The StatCast sabermetrics favored Carlos Correa in almost every value, so I can understand why he got his Gold Glove over JP, but I still like JP better.
I think if I was drafting a team solely to play defense, I think my number one overall pick would be J.P. Crawford.
Ooh, my number one overall pick would probably be like, Byron Buxton, but maybe I value outfielders a little more than infielders.
Maybe, I just like the shortstop is the quarterback of your defense, right? And so having someone that important,
I would call that the center fielder, but I would say the shortstop is the captain of the infield, and the center fielder is the captain of the outfield. And I value like line drives and pop-ups at a higher value than like grounders, I guess.
I could hear your cat meowing. Just meow.
Yeah, he's an angry boy.
All right, I don't think there's too much to debate. I'm excited for J.P. Crawford. Apparently, he was told by one Mr. Jerry Dipoto that shortstop is his no matter what happens.
I like that a lot.
I think that's exciting. To me, that's exciting. And it's got to feel good if you're J.P. Crawford. And I think that's good for the Mariners in the sense that, like, the PR around this team has been decisively in the negative, in the red, for the last probably 2 years. So to try and build the faith back up with the cornerstone of your team, the new cornerstone of your team, the guy that probably, like, if there's anyone that's going to turn around and be a Mariner for 10 years, like Kyle Seager was, it's probably going to be JP. If you had to select any of these guys, that's the most likely person to be the next all-time Mariner.
My guess would be, alternatively from JP, I would probably say Marco, or...
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to be able to pitch that long. Like, is Marco going to be able to pitch? He's been with us 3 years. Is Marco going to be a pitcher for another 7 years?
I mean, we got him for another 4, so...
Maybe. I just think if there's anyone that's going to be like the next Kyle Seager, the clubhouse leader, emotional leader, the guy who sticks around, the guy that is like Mr. Seattle Mariners, represents everything positive that you would want a Mariners player to represent, that's going to be J.P. Crawford. And to me, that's good enough to get him into the S tier. We haven't even talked about...
I really like Lewis.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about his offensive performance. He was never going to be a great offensive player, but he is more than serviceable. This year was a really good year for J.P. Crawford. If J.P. Crawford, like, when was the last time...
I think his WRC plus was above 110.
Yeah, when was the last time that we had a Mariners shortstop that was
a good hitter?
A good hitter, like at least a serviceable bat, like someone that you could count on. Like A-Rod?
Probably A-Rod off the top of my head. I can't even think of who was the shortstop on the 2001 Mariners, but I would say probably him.
Yeah, I can't think off the top of my head anyways right now, but like...
Brett Boone. Wait, no, he played
I mean,
second.
I guess Gene Segura you can put up there. Like, Gene Segura is obviously good, but like total clubhouse cancer.
No, he played second.
I can't think of his name right now, but we've had a lot of shortstops.
Ketel Marte?
Yeah, but even with us, like, Ketel was... Brad
Miller.
Brad Miller. Yeah, Crazy Legs.
Who is a free agent this year, and I would be fucking thrilled if we signed him, because I'm a Brad Miller fan.
Decisively not a shortstop anymore.
Oh, for sure. I think he's a full-time like first baseman at this point.
First baseman or something like that. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm excited just because it's clearly It's very important. You see it on all of these teams. It's so important to have your shortstop position locked down. Someone who's a good hitter, someone who's a good defender. Like, if you look at all the teams that are in the postseason, all the teams that competed at the World Series level, like they're locked down at the shortstop position. So it's obviously great for us.
Do you have a comp for J.P. Crawford? Because I think I have a really good one.
What's that?
Omar Narvaez. Not Omar Narvaez. Fuck, Omar Vazquez.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think J.P. Crawford. I mean, to me, the person that he kind of reminds me a lot of is like a better hitting Andrelton Simmons, or like a better like a Marcus Semien type guy. Like
no, because I always thought Marcus Semien was a really shitty shortstop with like a pretty good bat, and now he has like a really good bat, and he's not even a shortstop anymore. So I think
he's a Gold Glover, so it's hard to say he's shitty. I never thought of him as a
Marcus Semien was a Gold Glover this year?
Yeah, he's a second base Gold Glove.
Okay, sneak preview for like my hopeful Mariner signings. I really hope we pick up Marcus Semien for second.
You don't even know what position he plays.
I know he plays second. He doesn't play shortstop anymore.
You didn't even know he's a Gold Glover. You thought he's bad at defense.
I didn't know he was a Gold Glover. I didn't know he was a Gold Glover, but I know he hit 45 bombs last season, and so we can sign that fucking guy.
All right, next up, Justin Dunn. Justin Dunn pitched 11 games with us, a 1-3 record with terrible. A 3.75 ERA. A big regression year for Justin Dunn. I'm gonna let you go. Wait, did you go first with JP, or did I go first?
I don't know. I think I just
I'll go first.
Blurted S tier.
I think you did too. I'll go first. I think Justin Dunn, with room for improvement. I was gonna say D tier, but did he just get incomplete?
My first implication was to put him in the D tier, but I was like, that's not fair. He only pitched like
fair.
4 games.
It doesn't feel. I mean, he pitched 11.
Incomplete. Okay, I don't believe that. No way.
I
put him in incomplete because I, at this point, can't tell. Pitching is really up and down, and it's really wonky based off of years. If you want proof of that, just look at guys like Justin Sheffield, who looked like a fucking lock last year, right?
Yeah.
So I put him as incomplete because with how long his injury is and how little he pitched this year, you never know what his future's going to be. Okay. So you kind of just need to see more.
I'm fine with incomplete. I think he's a frightening candidate for the D tier. I will say this. And I like Justin Dunn. I like the stuff he brings. I like that he's like a solid right-handed pitcher. I feel like the Mariners have really loaded up on lefties, and we really had to rely a lot on lefties this year. And so I think we need a solid, I mean, maybe that's just Logan Gilbert or whoever, Chris Flexen, whatever. I think we need a guy like Justin Dunn to be solid for us. It just, especially with if we're going to miss on some of these other guys, like we got to hit somewhere, right? And we can't miss,
If JD doesn't pan out, I'm not too mad because literally in the same trade that Justin Dunn came over in, we also got Jared Kelenic. Right. So, I don't know. As far as, the winning trades versus losing trades goes, JD is not the one I'm concerned with there.
To me, I'm just concerned that he's, a future D tier. I just am. I'm concerned that he's a future D tier. I'm going to put him in complete because I think that's fair, but I also think, if I put him in D tier, I would be comfortable with that, but you convinced me that D is fine.
I'm fine with D or incomplete. I put him in incomplete, but I actually see him as a potential trade candidate for the Mariners.
That's a good point. All right, next up.
Because he has a lot of upside, just not with us.
One, Christopher Flexen. 14 wins, 6 losses, 3.61 ERA. Maybe the best home pitcher in the history of baseball. Is that a little? I mean, it might be a little extreme. This is your boy, Nick. So I'm gonna let you give me the lowdown on Flex.
Oh man, I love Flex. I think he was far and away the best starting pitcher we had on the team this year. At least the most consistent.
Yeah, most consistent. I was gonna say, most consistent for sure.
I initially put him in the A tier, and then you told me that he was my boy, and I realized he is my boy, so I bumped him up to S tier.
Okay, he's an A tier for me. Everything you said is 100% true. I cannot believe how good he was at Safeco Field. Talk about a match made in heaven. I don't know what it is, but fantastic. Very happy.
Pretty weird.
Very happy.
Especially
with
considering
Chris Flexen.
he's like a California boy, so you think he'd like pitching in like hot environments better. But like,
do you remember? I don't know if you watched the YouTube game, but he was interviewed during the game for one of the YouTube games, and he just seems like a weird dude, and I kind of love it. Like he just seems like an awkward, kind of like almost like loner, like just dude that just is doing his own thing, and I think that's kind of awesome. I respect that.
Totally agree with that, considering he's a dude that went to Korea for a year, and I feel like I'm not surprised by international players coming to America, but I'm always surprised by players that grew up in America leaving for another country. And I feel like that takes like a little extra dedication or like character development, I'm going to call it.
Yeah. I think we definitely, on this one, for me, I got to give props not only to Mr. Nick Hewitt for calling Chris Flexen. Great pick. But also, Jerry DiPoto, like, to go out and get, like, how often do we go out and get these guys that are in Korea or in Japan, and it's just, like, big misses. Unless they're, like, the big prospects. Like, the Shohei Ohtanis, the Ichiros, right? Like, those guys are guaranteed guys. But how often do you go and get guys? Someone will even talk about in a little bit, who I'm going to have to eat a lot of crow on, Yusei Kikuchi. Like, you go out and get these guys, and they're just absolute bums, or they just miss the mark, or it's not the same, right? I mean, for Chris Flexen, like, I mean, I'm sure he'd tell you that he had to do some different stuff, but it looked natural to him. To me, it looked like a guy who was just knew how to pitch and was just doing his thing. And I mean, to me, he's an A-tier guy. I'm super excited that I think we get him for 2 more years at least.
I think it's even more than that. So like,
I thought it was a 3-year contract.
Look, I could totally
be making that up.
But from what I remember, he pitched his rookie season with the Mets. It went really poorly, and then he went to Korea. I don't know if playing in the KBO counts as a year on your like 6-year contract with a professional team. But so I believe we purchased his contract, and so he should be with the team for 5 years. 4 years now that this first season is over.
I don't know how this works. What it says on Baseball Reference is next year he's with us next year for $3 million. He was with us this year for a little over $1.5 million. He's with us next year for $3 million, and then there's a $4 million team option. It does say though earliest arbitration eligible is 2024 and earliest free agency is 2027. I don't know if that's necessarily true or accurate, but it seems that we're at least guaranteed 2 more years in the sense that after next year we have a $4 million team option.
That all makes sense to me because I know they signed him internationally out of the KBO, right? So they had to purchase his contract from his KBO team. So it probably had like clauses of like payment options, and then and it would refer to like a normal arbitration contract after like the 2 or 3 years, right?
Dang, I don't know what. The $4 million option could become an $8 million team option
based on performance.
Innings pitched, and I don't know what GF is. IP and GF in 2021 and 2022.
Game failures.
I was gonna say maybe games finished. Like
that makes sense.
Pitches the whole game.
That makes sense.
I mean, it seems redundant in the sense that like innings pitched would kind of cover that, right? If you like are finishing games, you're going to pitch a lot of innings, but I don't know, not really. Yeah. Anyways, Chris X Flexen, solid A for me. Next up is one Jacob Fraley. There we go. My thing didn't want to scroll up. We were looking at
complicated placement.
Jake Fraley, who this year played in 78 games. Slashed 210, 325, 369. So Jake Fraley, discerning eye. Jake Fraley knows balls and strikes like he knows the back of his hand, and I think just didn't have the batting average, good on base guy. Like did he lead the team in on base percentage? He was second on the team in on base percentage if you don't count Kyle Lewis. First on the team in on-base percentage is Ty France, who we'll obviously get to in a few picks here, in the next pick. But second on the team in on-base percentage is Jacob Fraley.
I'm very surprised by that, considering he was a back nine guy.
I'll go first. We put him at the B tier in the summer. I think I'm more comfortable in the C tier as my first C tier placement for Mr. Fraley.
Yes,
only
agree.
because
I also put him in the C tier.
Only because he
outside
of the walks didn't really contribute.
This is in Oakland. We're not playing Moneyball. We don't care about walks. We want people to get on base. We want them to steal if they're going to get on first, and we want them to hit home runs if they're not.
9 home runs. I don't particularly think of him as like a great defensive player, so he's not really that kind of asset. I don't really know. I will say this. If they keep Fraley and don't trade him, I think he is kind of like the first outfield guy, the guy that relieves our big outfielders when they need...
He's the fourth outfielder.
Yeah. He's the first guy off the bench kind of thing, only because I will say this. If he starts a lot of games, similar to the way he did this year, I think that's a problem. I think he should be the rest day guy. He's just injury prone. He's an okay pinch hitter. Yeah, he's injury prone. I think C tier is just fine for me. Someone who I would like to see more of. And honestly, the problem is that when he's the kind of guy too. And we have a lot of these at on the Mariners where they just absolutely dominate in the lower leagues, and then they come to the Mariners and they're just like I don't know how they're not prepared in the sense that like they've done so well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Where'd you put Fraley?
Put him in the C tier. My problem with him is I really like him, but I don't see the future he has with the ball club. When you look at the future of this outfield, it's Jared Kelenic, Mitch Haniger, Kyle Lewis, Julio Rodriguez, who sounds like he's going to be coming up sooner rather than later.
Yes.
And then Jake Fraley would be the fifth best outfielder we have. And obviously, I know there's a lot of question marks with Kyle Lewis right now. We only saw him in like 50 plate appearances, and he hurt his knee, which is like the big fucking question mark of him, right? So who knows how long Kyle Lewis will be with the team and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and the Mariners have already said that they are looking for a new center fielder because they do not want to continue to play Kyle Lewis or Jared Kelenic in center field. So
yeah,
at this
definitely
point,
something to talk about when Kelenic comes up for sure.
So right. Yeah, I don't know.
C tier. What about Mr. Ty France? Viva la France. Where'd you put him?
Might be a little controversial. I put him in the A tier. I think he is a pretty good S tier inclusion, though.
He's S tier for me.
I just wanted to see more power from him.
Yes, and the thing is that I'll say this, I don't think you're ever going to, unless he changes his batting style. So Ty France, 152 games for us. He slashed 291, 368, tops on the team in OPS, and 445 slugging. He was an RBI machine, third on the team in RBIs with 73, hit 18 home runs, and second on the team in doubles with 32 doubles. I really like Ty France. Obviously, great defense for a first baseman. Absolutely stellar. Maybe going to cost Evan White his job or his spot with the Mariners. Well, only the future will say there. But the reality is that Ty France has absolutely cemented himself as a guy that is going to be on like the next great Seattle Mariners team. On the team that wins the World Series. Yeah, Ty France will be one of the guys on that team that wins the World Series for the Mariners. So that's pretty awesome. I don't really have much more to say. I'm just happy. I think it's, the way that trade, we were always going to win the Padres trade, but Ty France has just made that so decisive. Yep. And not only did we win the trade, but we found an absolute stalwart piece. This guy is a guy that is just an easy top 3 in your lineup, super reliable, super comfortable hitter, someone that, and he even struggled at the beginning of the year. He didn't have a great beginning of the year. How much better could Ty's season have been? Could he have been a 300 hitter if he hit the way he hit the majority of the year?
Yeah, easy peasy.
I don't know, but I mean, I'm someone who's I'm just super excited.
I'm actually surprised there wasn't talks of him getting a Silver Slugger award. But
I think it was definitely a mistake that they left him off the Gold Glove, even though I know that he maybe didn't get enough innings to satisfy whatever their arbitrary requirements are. But the fact that I just don't see how he wasn't one of the 3 best AL first basemen defensively.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you just said. I really like his power swing, and I really like his fucking no doubt. Like the way he carries himself when he knows he just like smashes a fucking baseball.
Yeah.
And so if I could see a little bit more of that, I think he'd be an easy S for me. But I do think he is the best hitter on the ball club. Yeah. So I think I probably should have put him in the S tier. But
I did mention I don't know if he's ever going to be a giant power hitter because he's the type of hitter that likes to let the ball go into the zone, and he hits a lot of opposite field hits, right? Which is really good for hitting doubles, getting base hits. Like, you want to put the ball on the opposite side of the field. But he just isn't the kind of guy that really turns on a baseball that's going to get a lot of home runs because he's not hitting them to his power side, right? He's letting the ball drift through the zone, getting a lot of late swings that he's punching the ball into the gaps.
I agree with that, but I think he's a very complete hitter from what we've seen, and I think he can pull and push the ball very evenly.
Oh, I agree with that. I just think his preference, I think, is very clear in the sense that, like, he likes to direct the ball away. You know, he likes to find gaps and let the ball drift through the zone. He likes to hit it away, right? Yeah. That's just his preference. I mean, obviously, he's able to turn on some, and he gets his home runs. I mean, he had 18 this season or something like that?
Yeah, somewhere around there. A little bit under 20.
Yeah, so respectable. All right, Logan Gilbert's our first graduate from the minor leagues pitching ranks as in terms of our starting pitchers. One of our big prospects down there. Logan Gilbert made his debut this year and was a consistent part of our starting pitching staff. He pitched in 24 games this year, 6-5 record with a 4.68 ERA. Obviously, I want to say he found his stride towards the middle of the season. He struggled at the beginning, and I think the season kind of caught up with him, and he struggled at the end. I think for me, I'd put him in the B tier. What about you?
I also put him in the B tier.
Okay. All right. That's
I will say I like him because I got to go to his debut game. And
how's that?
He pitched very poorly. I think he gave up 4 and 3 and then got pulled. But, that's a pitching debut. That's what happens. Yeah. But it was a fun game.
Yeah. Logan Gilbert definitely going to be one of those guys that we're going to talk about for a long time. But for now, just put him in the middle of the pack and move on.
That reminds me of James Paxton, to be honest.
That's good. If he can do for us what Pax did for us, I'm going to be very happy.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, Pax was a Cy Young contender with us at points. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Definitely going to be a pitcher, I think, on the next Great Mariners team. So I like that. Yeah. I always like to be able to say that. Jose Godoy. I'm going to let you take the first. I'm going to let you take the first crack at him. Let's see. He played
I don't even have
16 games for us. 40 plate appearances, 162, 225, 189. You gave him incomplete. I'm just going to go to the D. I just don't think he's a major league level player. And if I see him having to play games for us, I'm kind of bummed because that means that like Tom Murphy is hurt, or it means Cal Raleigh is hurt, right? So I don't want to see him. I'm going to go D tier.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, next up, I think we may differ wildly on this. Marco Gonzalez, someone who we put in the C tier at the beginning of the year. Maybe should have got it incomplete, but I put him in the C tier. I can't speak for you. He pitched in 25 games, 10-6 record this year, 3.96 ERA, which is second lowest out of our starters. So, gotta put some respect on the Bulldogs' name. Yes, behind Flexen. And Pretty good season. For me, I'm putting him with Flexen in the A tier. Because he bounced back, and he had a great second half of the year. Marco was himself in the second half of the year. He had a lot going on, right? He had, I think he had, not only did he have family issues, but he had the birth of his first child, everything that comes with that. He was injured at the beginning of the year, and he really, he had a bad first half of the year, and that's why he was in the C tier for us, right?
He was struggling mentally at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, for sure. Everything that comes along with that, especially being a player like him who's been so solid. I think it would be tough too. If you're not 100% mentally, like someone who has been so good for so long and you just don't get any respect other than from your own organization, and then they, you struggle at the beginning of the year and you get jumped on in every little thing you do wrong. Like, to me, Marco's always going to be a guy that I'm going to love. He's a Bulldog. I'm always going to support my brothers there. So, yeah, he's an A tier for me. I think he 100%. If he didn't redeem himself in the second half of the season for your eyes, I think you just need to look in the mirror and figure out why you don't like Marco, because I don't think it has anything to do with baseball.
Yeah, I agree. I put Marco in my A tier as well, and I don't know why you thought I would have put him anywhere differently. I think you were seeing exactly what I was seeing. Maybe.
I'm glad that you finally put some respect on Marco's name. I just thought,
finally,
because
I have been putting him in the S tier for 2 years.
I just think because, it's just nice to see that you finally respect Marco Gonzalez. I can even respect you more for that. I respect you more because you finally respect Marco.
You know what? I'm going to take the high road here, and I'm going to say my respect for you and also my respect for Marco are mutually exclusive. And neither affect each other, and you know what? We can just get along and also like each other and Marco Gonzalez.
You know what? I respect you for that. I had a lot of respect for you, and now I respect you even more for being able to say that. A tier for me. Are you A tier or S tier for you?
A tier.
A tier. Beautiful.
I wanted to put him in the S tier, but
he just didn't get there, right? He's been an S tier player for so long. You have to you have to hold him accountable.
I'm looking
for what happened at the beginning of the year.
I'm looking for improvement from him, and realistically, he ended the season at a 3.99 in 2020, and I was looking for him to get down to 3.7, and he just didn't get there.
Okay. Sam Haggerty. Yeah. I should have just wrote these down or something. That would have made things
incomplete.
A lot easier.
Yeah. I like Sam Haggerty. But
Haggerty played in 35 games with 94 plate appearances, /186, 247, 291. Obviously missed a good portion of the year due to injury. I also give him incomplete. I'm excited.
I just have a better memory than you, because I don't have to write this down. I just remember that Sam Haggerty got injured really quickly.
Well, no, I knew he got injured, but I wasn't sure exactly how many games he played. I want the stats. I want the hard facts. I don't want none of this loosey goosiness. I'm gonna give you hard facts. You gotta give me credit for that.
Okay, Ryan Divish. You gonna tell me who your fucking source is? Goddamn.
Yeah, my source is Baseball Reference. I don't have secret sources. Do I look like someone who has secret sources? My source is Baseball Reference. I'm reading off the chart, you bum.
Oh man, if Kyle Seager was secretly giving us information about the Seattle Mariners, I would be so fucking thrilled.
I wish.
Even if it was bullshit because he's not with the team anymore. Oh man.
We should just tweet at Kyle Seager to be like, "Hey, you got any inside information on the Mariners?" And he's gonna be like, "Guys, I'm a Marlin. Leave me alone."
Wow, that's your prediction for Kyle, huh?
Oh my God, no! I need to put some respect on Kyle's name. That was offensive of me. I'm sorry. All right, Mitch Haniger. Mitch Haniger, is this a slap S tier for you? I will say this to finish about Haggerty. I'm excited. I'm excited for a healthy Haggerty. I want a healthy Haggerty.
Me too. I don't totally know what his place on the team is with us acquiring a good middle infielder, allegedly acquiring a good middle infielder, and
he's just gonna have to. It's gonna be a contest between him and a few other players to beat out
superstars.
To win the super utility spot, right?
Okay.
He's gonna have to fight
between him and Dylan Moore.
Yeah, him, Dylan Moore, and Toro maybe. to fight for the super utility. Like, you know what? May the best man win.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Mitch Haniger, auto S tier for me. I think he's easily the best player this year, especially after all the talk about potentially him not even being a Mariner this year, him being gone for 2 years. I don't know if they've already given this award out, but if they give a comeback player of the year, it has to be Mitch Haniger. I
100% agree. He was literally the best hitting outfielder in the league, and he got absolutely no fucking respect for it.
Let's see. He played in 157 games. He slashed 253, 318, 485. Was a home run machine with 39 home runs, 23 doubles, and 100 RBIs. He hit the 100 mark. Second place on the team, just behind Kyle Seager's 101. I think I'm excited for Mitch. If he ever leaves us, I'm going to be a mess.
Extend Mitch. Holy shit.
Yeah, extend Mitch. That's just a no-brainer. All right.
I don't know what they're waiting for.
Okay, I'm very happy that I got to go first with Mitch, because that means you have to go first on the next guy, Jared Kelenic. Jared Kelenic, for us, played in 39 games after coming up and, tearing the cover off the ball at AAA. Played a few games for us, then was sent back down, dominated AAA again, came back up for the rest of the season. In 137 plate appearances, he slashed 181, 265, 350. Maybe one of the most polarizing first seasons for a Mariner prospect ever.
Yeah, good call.
At mid-year, we put him in... Did we not place him? Oh, we put him in the C tier at mid-year.
Oh, no, we're so mean.
I think that's fair. I think he's still a C tier.
Oh, I put him in the A tier. I liked what I saw from him at the end of the year. I think it looks more
I
like
agree
the
with you. There just wasn't enough of it, though.
I disagree. I mean, his August was him hitting like 245, and then his September was him hitting like 275 or 280.
I mean, he had a great. You're right. He had a great.
275, 280 with 15 home runs is like the minimum of what we were expecting from him.
Yeah. And
if his improvement continues on a way that it's like or if his trend continues, I should say, I would expect a 265. I would expect in his next season he at least hits 265 with another 15 home runs, and I think that is a pretty good ball player.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can tell you right now, like, spoiler alert for my preseason tier list, Jared Kelenic's an A tier. I think that he's going to put it all together, figure it out. He's going to dominate spring training, although he did dominate spring training this year. And
I hope
he's
so.
gonna...
Especially, I know he's really competitive. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
I know he's really competitive with Julio Rodriguez. They're good friends, and they were roommates at some point.
Yeah, it's going to help having both of them on the team, right?
Yes, having Julio on the team is really going to push Jared, especially if Julio takes that center field spot, which they're predicting. So if Julio comes up, takes his outfield spot, and plays better than him, Jared Kelenic is going to rage get better, and he I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I for sure I'm putting him in the C tier, but that is not meant to be a knock on him. It's just meant to be that's what happened this year. This year he was a C tier player. He was a solid bottom of the lineup guy for us in the last 2 months of the year. And I will say this, I'm excited that he already wants to place himself as a leader on this team, especially an emotional leader. I mean, him trying to rally the fan base, the city, his teammates in the last week of the year, this is a dude that wants to win, and I have no reason to believe... Cool. I have no reason to believe that he will not be a major winner and that he will not take the Mariners to the promised land. I have no reason to believe that won't happen.
Yeah, I agree.
So, to me, C-tier season. Sorry, Jared, it happens, but I think you know and I know that's not the end of the story. That's not the end of this book, right?
Unfortunately, I really like Jared. Fortunately, I see his time with the Mariners ending like A-Rod did, where he talks about wanting to come back, and then someone just gives him too much money, and he cannot refuse, right?
Maybe. All right, next up, Yusei Kikuchi, someone who was our lone all-star. Didn't have a great end of the season for us. Came back after the all-star break, really struggled. Didn't even get to play in that game because he got sick. He went 7-9 with a 4.41 ERA in 29 games, and has decided not to opt into his player option, is going to be a free agent, and certainly saving the Mariners of $13 million that they would have rather not have spent on him. So I think that is quite interesting. I got to eat a lot of crow. I've been a Yusei defender since day one, but I think his attitude, the way he played, I think everything kind of fell apart at the end, and this may be an overreaction, but that's my prerogative, and I'm putting him in the D tier.
I respect him a little more than that. I respect the first half that he had, so I put him in the C tier. But I will say I have never been impressed by him, and I've only been disappointed by him.
Yeah, I mean, you've been a distinct Yusei hater. You can't even deny it. And you know what? He took it upon himself to prove all the haters right. What can I say?
Yeah.
All right.
I
Next
think he
up,
was very undeserving of his All-Star candidacy that he got.
I mean, there was definitely some other guys on the team that should have been All-Stars, right?
Kendall Graveman,
Mitch Haniger, J.P. Crawford.
J.P. Crawford.
Yeah, Kendall Graveman. Yeah, yep.
Chris
all the above.
Could have chose any of those guys.
All of the above. All right. Next up, Kyle Lewis. Easy incomplete for me. I mean, I will say this. He struggled coming into his sophomore season as the Rookie of the Year, reigning Rookie of the Year, really struggled at the beginning of the season. I had his stats here. In 36 games, he slashed 246, 333, 320, 392, which actually is better than I remember.
I wouldn't call that really struggling. I would call that getting to a slow start for a superstar.
That's fair. That's better than I remember, honestly. Better than I remember. Yes, again, that superstar. My expectations for him is like 280, 40 home runs. So
yeah. Yeah, me too. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, so like maybe that's it. Is that like my expectations were too high, which is maybe why I thought the beginning of the year was quite disappointing. But just 100%. an incomplete for me. Did you feel good enough to rank him anywhere?
I put him in the A tier, but I should have put him in the incomplete tier.
That's fine. All right, next up, Rick Long, played in 34 games with the Mariners. What? That's his name, Shedrick.
Shedemeyer.
The Shedster. Played in 34 games, 121 at-bats, slashed 198, 258, 360 with 4 home runs and 17 RBIs.
And he's gone.
Maybe. Okay, I will say this. So supposedly that's another guy that Jerry would like to re-sign to a more team-favorable minor league deal. Definitely someone who's, despite having lots of opportunities, never able to really help his own stock. Where'd you land on Shedrick?
Oh, I should have put him in the D tier. I'm too nice, though, and I put him in the C tier.
I'm going to go D tier. I mean, it's just, dude, I like Shed. C tier. I'm with you. No, dude, but with Jared, like, I can't have him and Jared in the same tier. Incomplete. Yeah. Incomplete for Shedrick.
Unlike you, I'm also too nice to Jared Kelenic, and I put Kelenic in the A tier, and I'm not moving him.
That's your prerogative. Shedrick's going to go in the incomplete for moi. Next up, Jose Marmolejos in 41 games, 106 at-bats, slashed 160, 262, 310, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs. Someone else who has elected free agency, I don't see the Mariners going back for him.
No, he has no place in the ball club.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit. I'm putting him in the D tier.
I also put him in the D tier.
Honestly, I hate to do this, but I feel like I was always a Marmo hater. I even remember his very first at bat. He got a single, tried to lay it out for a double, and got thrown out. This was the first game of the COVID year, 2020, and I never forgot that. So you know what? Maybe that makes me a bad person, but even Gabby gave me crap because I got mad at him, and she was like, "It was his first hit. Be nice." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, this ain't the Pee Wee leagues, bud. If you can't leg it out, stay at first."
Yeah.
I think what that has done though is cemented me as a Marmo hater. So I guess I'm a Marmo hater. Whatever. All right, next up.
I don't really have anything to say about him.
Anthony Misowitz, another guy who pitched a lot for us, pretty much our only lefty out of the bullpen due to a lot of injury that's happened. Obviously, we had different guys at different points: Sean Doolittle, Nick Margavicius, Hector Santiago. But Misowitz was our stalwart lefty in the bullpen.
Pitched around a 4.0 all year, but I gotta say he was the guy that
definitely an early guy. I mean, it was kind of interesting to see how the rules have changed things, that there's not really lefty specialists anymore, right? You kind of have to stand on your own as a left-handed pitcher. He pitched in 66 games, 5 wins, 5 losses, 4.61 ERA, and 3.5 strikeout to walk ratio. I think I'll let you go first.
I put him jeez. Okay. I put him in the C tier.
That's what I'm thinking too.
By him.
I wasn't disappointed at all. I think he was solid.
He just didn't stand out against the phenomenal bullpen that we did have.
Yeah, he was kind of like he just wasn't in the upper tier of that bullpen, but I think he played a very solid, important piece for us. I remember him getting some very important outs. I mean, obviously he struggled, his ERA and everything else really tells the tale, right? But I'm happy that he's in our bullpen. I'm happy with Misowitz if he, solid dude. Solid baseball player. Next up, we have Dylan Moore. Played in 126 games. Kind of our first guy off the bench, the super utility guy for us this year. Unfortunately, had a very disappointing year compared to how great of a COVID year he had. He
has some pretty good power numbers.
Yeah, he slashed 181, 276, 334, 12 home runs, 43 RBIs, but unfortunately, he is just kind of an out.
I don't know. He had some big moments. He
did have some big moments, for sure.
OPSing at 90 points higher than your average is, I believe, above average for like an OPS.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would say the metrics are on his side if he can get that average up.
Yeah, I my instinct, honestly, like this is me just being harsh. My first instinct is, man, I'm disappointed by Dylan, D tier. But I think that's just me being,
really like the guy.
I think that's me being a little unfair. And if I put Jared Kelenic in the C tier, I think I at least have to I can put Dylan Moore in the D tier, in the C tier, and I feel comfortable with that.
Cool. I put him in the B tier.
I do think there's a distinct possibility we may have seen the last of Dylan Moore as a Mariner, though. I get that vibe. I have a vibe.
Seems like a trade candidate, and it seems like the reincarnation of Brad Miller or Ketel Marte to me.
Yes. Or you know what? Chris Taylor. He screams Chris Taylor to me. Someone that's going to go to another team and just develop into an absolute
and put
monster.
It all together. Yeah. It's just so unfortunate because I love all 3 of those guys, and seeing them succeed so well on their respective teams, I'm like, come back.
I know.
And they're not going to.
All right, this next guy, it may have been really unfair of me to put him in this, but he pitched 1 game for us in the last game of the year. Andres Munoz got 2 outs this entire year for us. He looked really good. I'm going to say this. He looked really good. I wanted to mention him. And I feel like if I didn't put him on here, we would never talk about him. But he is obviously one of the biggest prospects we have, right?
Yeah, he's a fucking flamethrower.
Yeah, and he's super exciting. I think that's really just what I want to say. Obviously, we're going to give him an incomplete this year, but I just wanted to say his name. So we did that. I'm super excited for him. Again, this is a guy that, for nothing, basically, we added him to our bullpen, and already he's going to make next year what's already the best bullpen in baseball even better.
Yeah, especially considering we're getting Ken Giles back from the injured list.
Yes, that's another thing, too. We already have the best bullpen in baseball, Nick, and they're getting Andres Munoz, they're getting Ken Giles. They're just getting better.
And next year we're going to add Sugar back? Oh, man.
They're just getting better. Oh, my gosh. Okay, next up. Tom Murphy, our crazy psychopath of a catcher, played in 97 games due to missing a bunch due to injury. He slashed 202, 304, 350 with 11 home runs and 34 RBIs in 352 plate appearances.
He is, by very definition, a replacement level catcher.
Uh-huh. And for you, that puts him in
the C tier.
I agree. I'm maybe a little bummed. I kind of think next year is going to be better for him than this year. Like, I see him as at least like a 240 hitter next year. And I think a lot of that had to do with being injured so much and all the other responsibilities that comes with being like the veteran guy. And clearly he's a leader on the team, an emotional leader, right? And I think I'm just going to maybe say a lot of that took away his ability to be a great baseball player.
I think
like he was his very first year with us. So
I think we are currently seeing the worst pitching class of all time. And your standout players are kind of shit players like Wilson Contreras and fucking what's the Phillies catcher? What's his name?
JT Realmuto?
JT Realmuto. And I feel like if your best players at a position are like kind of fucking shit cans like those, there's probably something wrong inherently with the position. And I feel like, to me, it seems like the catching position at the major league level is less about hitting or even catching and trying to fool the fucking umpire into calling a strike and a ball.
That's kind of true. Or vice versa, right?
I hate it. I hate it so much. But why is baseball down to, like, trying to trick a fucking 55-year-old man who has a fucking, like, bad eyes how to fucking place a fucking, or call a ball or a strike? It, like, blows my mind.
Yeah,
fix the game, man.
That's fair. That's very fair. All right, next up, LJ Newsome, someone who we have let go, but for us this year, I played in enough games that it made him worthy enough of putting on here, if I can find
the silent assassin.
Oh, I guess he only played in 7 games? Okay. 7 games, 1-1 win-loss record, 7.98 ERA. I could have swore he was higher up on here. Why did I include him? I don't know. 5.3 strikeout to walk ratio, highest on the team this year. Maybe this is just me being a jerk, but I've never really liked LJ Newsome, and I'm kind of not bummed.
Yeah,
that will never see.
I think he's a nerd. I actually think he's a dork. Yeah.
What'd you put? You put him D tier?
Yeah, I did put him in D tier.
Okay. All right.
I don't
next
dislike
up,
the guy. I just think he's a dork, and I think it's pretty funny.
I just don't ever want to see him pitch for the Mariners, and we never will have to, so that's okay.
Yikes.
Okay. All right. Next up, Cal Raleigh. Did we rank him? I don't think he was with us at the beginning of. No. Okay, so we didn't rank him before. Cal joined us a little bit after mid-year, one of our big prospects that came up.
And he immediately hit one of the hardest home runs I've ever seen in my entire life, and then he has never done anything since.
Yeah, he's a big chunky boy. He played, 47 games and 148 plate appearances, slashed 180, 223, 309 with 2 home runs and 13 RBIs. I don't know. I like Cal, but this is disappointing for me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like switch hitters, and I like replacement level catchers, and he looks like he is at least one defensively, but fucking you need to hit a ball more consistently than he did this season.
I agree. Well, where did you place him?
I put him in the D tier.
I'm going to put him in C tier. Only because my expectations for catchers are so low and he barely met the ball.
True. I feel that.
All right, next up, your boy, Yohan Ramirez, one of Nick's favorite all-time Mariners, almost killed Austin Nola, will forever be remembered for that. He pitched in 25 games, 1-3 record with a 3.90 ERA and a 2.92 strikeout to walk ratio. Is that a little lower than you would have expected?
I'm going to be honest with you, it blows my mind that he's pitched in 25 games because I must just completely block him out because I think I have seen him pitch 2 or 3 times over the course of the season.
That's
And it was
so
only
mean.
in September, and I I was like, oh, this guy's back. Fuck this guy.
Let's see. We put him in the C tier last time. I thought Johan was awesome. I really liked what I saw of Johan. I will say I'm definitely biased that he pitched really well in the 2 games that I got to see him pitch live in Phoenix. So
Yeah.
a little biased. For me, I'm putting him.
He had a really good series against Phoenix.
I was gonna put him in the B tier, but that just doesn't feel perfect.
Fuck that, man.
I think I'm putting him in the C tier. I think he's like a borderline guy. Like I think he's on the cusp of B tier for me personally.
Pretty interesting. I think he's one of the most interesting relievers that we have because he was probably the most electric reliever we had last season, and as much as I dislike him for almost murdering Austin Nola, he did. He was probably the best guy in the bullpen, or at least the most electric.
I will say this too: of
so
all
to
the
see that
complaints,
he didn't make the team this year, very weird.
Of all the complaints that, in particular, Nick Hewitt had of him, and the fact that he was pretty wild and didn't have any control, he fixed that this year. He didn't struggle with control in my memory this year, and only lost a little bit in the MPH category for that. So I think he's developing into a really nice
pitcher.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited for Johan. I think to me he's on the cusp of a B tier, and he's one of those guys that again is gonna make what already was the best bullpen in baseball even better. Because when he's with us for a full year next year, I think that's gonna be awesome.
Maybe.
All right, next up. I mean, you gotta love this guy. You gotta love this guy, Casey Sadler. Pitched in 42 games, 0 wins, 1 loss on the year, a 0.67 ERA. I believe he set the Mariners record for outings without allowing a run at what was the record? Well, it was 20 something. Casey Sadler record. That's not what I wanted. Approaching franchise record. What is the record? Oh yeah, 24. He had 24 straight scoreless appearances, and that put him 1 shy of the franchise record. So he had just under 30. I can't remember what the final number was, but for scoreless appearances, and I mean, I will say this: he didn't pitch late innings, but he was usually the first guy in, and he was always locked down, right?
Yeah.
He was always the first guy that came in to relieve the starter whenever they started to struggle, and he was a guaranteed, you're getting out of this, right? It didn't matter. Bases loaded, no outs, you're getting out of it with Casey Sadler. That's how good of a escape artist he was, right?
Yeah,
so, where did you land on him?
So I have always been surprised in our 2021 campaign that everyone was talking about Kendall Graveman and Paul Sewald and not talking about Casey Sadler.
Yeah, and probably the difference is that those guys pitched 25 more innings than Sadler pitched. It's a factor.
I didn't know that. But I put him in the S tier, so I thought he was just that good.
I put him in the A tier this year. I thought he was super solid. I don't think any of my bullpen guys are going to end up in the S tier. But there's going to be a lot in the A tier, and he's the first one that's going in there. So, A tier, Casey Sadler. Next up, the man who, it was his turn this year to make us cry. It was Kyle Seager. And then make us mad later on. So, he did the whole...
I'm not mad. I still like Kyle.
I still like Kyle. I still like Kyle, too. It's just one of those things that as more stuff comes out, I'm kind of like, maybe it's going to be okay that he's gone. There's definitely times where I was like, dude, you guys could pick up his option. You have the option. You have the choice. Anyways, Kyle Seager played in 159 games.
That we will not be picking up his brother
maybe
in the offseason.
159 games, 670 plate appearances. He slashed 112, 285, 438. I want to say No, that was third on the team in slugging behind Ty and Mitch. He hit 35 home runs, second on the team, and 101 RBIs, which is first on the team. Absolute Mariners legend. Someone who clearly as like a clubhouse leader is super good. I mean, obviously some kind of stuff has come out that maybe he wasn't the best Mariner, at times to the organization, which like how much loyalty, it begs the question, like how much loyalty do these guys need to have to the organization, especially to an organization that has been historically bad about showing loyalty to its players, and that's just all of baseball, right? Like that's just the way it is. It's always chalked up to when the team does something, oh, it's a business decision. But when a player does something against the team, it's like, they're not being loyal, right? Yeah, they're a jerk. They're not being loyal. They're greedy. And obviously that narrative has changed recently. There's definitely been a lot more hate when it comes to baseball organizations, kind of as like social media and mental health awareness, all those kind of things have kind of developed. It's definitely been a pushing factor where people more often side with the player over their organization. And obviously an organization like the Mariners has done a lot of things to like lose the trust of their players. So that's obviously a factor as well. So Kyle Seager, and there's a lot of drama that kind of goes around this. Obviously he's not coming back. There was drama about how he was told this. Apparently it was sent to him in like an email or a text message. And it was originally reported for that the Mariners didn't intentionally didn't meet face-to-face to tell him his option wasn't going to be picked up. Then it came out later that they tried to have contact with him. They tried to call him. Obviously he wasn't in the city, wasn't available. And then a mistake happened where like an email was sent out essentially automatically because they weren't able to contact him. And then it kind of found out, due to all of this, we kind of found out that the one person over the years that has been leaking inside information, clubhouse stuff to the media was Kyle Seager and his family. So kind of I think you're right in the sense that like it shouldn't change how you feel about him, but it does kind of make me say, a lot of the drama, a lot of the negative drama that could have been avoided. And if here's the thing, I'm going to tell you right now, if the Mariners have done something wrong, they need to be held accountable, right? But I think there's also a time and a place. And if things can be handled in-house and not publicly, I also think that should happen too, if it's appropriate, right? And it's scenario by scenario. And if Kyle Seager is someone who, was a little bit too liberal with what he revealed to the public, I think that that's a problem, and the organization will be... And I want the success... Number one overall, I want the success of the organization. I want the Mariners to be a team that wins the World Series. Part of that is having success with players, success with management, doing everything right, and being held accountable to that standard of doing everything right. Yeah. But if it's to the detriment of the team and the detriment, of clubhouse morale, everything like that, like there is a balance. There's no right or wrong answer, and everything is so scenario specific. And like definitely I feel like for you and I, we probably lean a bit towards, the team and management than probably most other, like I don't like the right way to say this isn't like woke fans or whatever, but the way that most fans do. And we haven't completely followed the trend of like always being on the players' sides. Like I think we often end up on the players' sides, but I'm willing to bet that you and I more often than most people do end up on the team's side, right? The organization's side on certain things.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't really care either way. It sounds like both parties were doing things they shouldn't be.
Yes, and that's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to is that in the end, everyone's doing things wrong. Which is maybe why we haven't won anything in 20 years.
Yeah. It's a harsh way to put it, but probably true.
Yeah. I think that's probably it. It's not even that we necessarily end up more on management side. I just think you and I are probably some people that are more willing to hold players accountable as well, right? Whereas like I think there can be a tendency to like assume the player is always right and hold management and team operations accountable, but I think everyone needs to be held accountable. I don't
know. I just mean like it's a dick measuring contest half the time.
Oh yeah,
In
for
professional
sure.
baseball, it's literally like 50-year-old management versus 20 to 30-year-old players.
Yeah,
And
there are definitely times that's the case for sure.
it's just like dudes taking out their dicks and waving them around so that everyone can know how manly they are when we could all just be working together and like trying to,
I think it's
accomplish
also
some
one of those
shit.
things too that if Kyle Seager did feel that he was so mistreated, like you didn't have to stay here for 10 years.
Yeah.
You could have asked to have been traded. You could have asked
Yeah.
to have been released. You didn't have to sign. And like, I'm glad that he did those things. And personally, as a fan of Kyle Seager and the Mariners, I'm glad he stuck around. He was an important piece. Even this year, I'm putting him in the A tier. He had 101. He had 101 RBIs and 35 home runs.
I think he's one of the most important players
Like,
we have on
yeah,
the
he was-
lineup, and I actually put him in the S tier.
Yeah, he was incredibly important to all of our success this year, and it's going to be really hard to replace Kyle Seager. Like Jerry
100%
Dipoto has
sold out for power.
Jerry Dipoto has
yeah.
a monstrous task ahead of him in terms of replacing Kyle's production. An absolutely monstrous task. That's 101 RBIs you have to find a replacement for.
Yeah.
101 RBIs.
And so it's not even considering how well he played this season. Obviously, he sold out for power, so he didn't hit the average that he could have. He was always clutch when he needed to be.
Yeah. Oh, one of the most clutch players in baseball. Had to have been.
Yeah. Considering how low his average was and how high his runners in scoring position average was, 100% had to be, if not the top 5 most clutch player, then just the best, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so like you could add like Marcus Semien or Trevor Story or Chris Bryant or someone and realize that, oh shit, I didn't improve my team because we still got rid of Kyle Seager.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So realistically, if you want to improve your lineup, you need to add not 1, but 2 good bats.
Yeah. And that's just to try and replace Kyle. Like, who knows if you're even improving, right? You're just trying to replace his production.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, we're going to miss Kyle Seager. I mean, obviously, a lot of drama has kind of come out, and I don't think we're going to miss that part of it. Especially with everything that happened with Kendall Graveman this year, with his release, or at least his option not being picked up, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be nice to not have that drama that kind of seems to follow him around, but it's going to be a real bummer not to have the baseball player and the clubhouse leader, Kyle Seager,
Yeah, well, really well-liked player.
Yeah, you could see it in JP. Literally, it made JP cry after his last game.
Made me cry.
Because they were so tight, so close. Like, it's important to have a guy like that, Hopefully that's JP. All right, next up, Paul Sewald. Absolute stud this year. Another guy that we got from the Mets. He had, in 62 games, 10 wins, 3 losses, a 3.06 ERA, 4.33 strikeout to walk ratio. I mean, Paul Sewald was nuts. Absolute stellar strikeout guy this year. I want to say, 104 strikeouts, which is the most on the team for a reliever. Only 4 strikeouts fewer than Marco had as a starter. Paul Sewald, I'm putting him in the A tier.
I put him in the S tier.
Yeah, you love to fill your S tier up. I respect that. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it goes we can say it so many times, but Paul Sewald, maybe the most important part of this bullpen because he was kind of the star, the stud, the guy that had the limelight on him and lived up to the reputation that he built for himself throughout the year. So I respect that.
Time. He is a guy that I'm a little surprised didn't get traded at the All-Star break, considering how well he was playing.
Mm-hmm.
But it all worked out.
Yeah, obviously it's clear what they think, right? Like, they made an absolute business decision and hung on to Paul and traded Kendall Graveman. Like, that was a decision. The decision was
they could also just add Kendall back. Like, he's a free agent, right?
Yeah, probably not
going to happen.
Signed
with Houston. Probably not going to happen, but it could.
It could. All right. Next up, Justice Sheffield. I think are you putting him in the D tier?
Justice Sheffield.
I'll read the line. Let's see. 21 games, 6.83 ERA, 7.8 win-loss. It's not good. I'm putting him in the D tier. This is maybe the player I'm most disappointed about this year.
I agree. This is a guy I should have put in the D tier, but I actually put him down as incomplete.
Okay. That's fine, too. Yeah, I'm just disappointed. Like, I'm kind of worried we'll never see him as a starter and he'll never live up to his potential, which is a bummer.
I mean, we do need electric lefties in the bullpen, though, considering I believe the only lefty, like you said, is Mezowicz.
That's true. I don't know if he's a bullpen piece, though. I just don't know. All right, next up, we have Joe Smith, the guy we got in the Kendall Graveman trade, along with Abraham Toro, who's coming up here soon. Joe Smith for us played in 23 games, 3 wins, 3 losses, 2.0 ERA. Absolutely solid. I think I'm putting him in the B tier because he doesn't quite match for me Sewald and Sadler, but he's obviously very good. I put him on the same level as Diego. He was super solid. He was really important, a really important piece for us.
Probably should have put him in the B tier. I ended up putting him in the C tier just because I wasn't totally sure how happy I was with his performance.
I mean,
and he's a former Astro, so
yeah. I'm looking at him with this H on his hat, so that kind of hurts. But
yeah.
All right, next up is Drew Steckenrider, another absolute stud for us. 62 games, 5 wins, 2 losses, 2.0 ERA. Pitched in a lot of high leverage situations. An ERA plus of 2.09, which is on the highest on the team. So he's one of the highest on the teams behind just Kendall. Kendall Graveman had a 5.13 and Casey Sadler a 6.26. Those are just astronomical ERA pluses, right?
Yeah.
That's just absolutely crazy. But Drew Steckenrider, crazy solid. I think to me he's on the same level as Paul Sewald, and he kind of got less of the limelight, which I think made it easier for him. But I think he was one of those guys that everyone on the opposing teams knew they had to be prepared for Paul Sewald. And then Drew Steckenrider comes in, and he's got the same nasty stuff. And it's holy crap, there's another Paul Sewald. How come no one's talking about this guy? And I kind of I think it worked for Drew that he got to ride under the radar a little bit, and everyone was prepared for Sewald, and he got to come in and just punch people in the mouth. So I think he's an A-tier guy, and I'm really excited for this bullpen. We've only said it 1 million times.
I also put him in the A tier. I probably should have put him in the S tier as far as my rankings go with Sadler and Paul Sewald. I am pretty disappointed of how anti-vax he is.
Is he really anti-vax?
Yeah, he was really on the anti-vax train, which I guess I'm not too surprised by because he's come from Florida. You know how Floridians are. They're crazy.
Yeah, it's true. It's not a lie. No lies here.
I mean, look at Malix with his big fucking Florida chain. Goddamn, they crazy. But yeah, I like the guy. He performed really well as a ball player.
Yeah. I'm happy to have him. And hopefully by this time next year we won't have to deal with that kind of stuff, and we won't lose him because he doesn't want to be vaccinated, and right. that's that.
Yeah,
Eric Swanson pitched in 33 games for us, 3.31 ERA, 3.5 strikeout to walk ratio, ERA plus of 127. Super solid. We've definitely been I think collectively we've kind of ragged on Eric Swanson. Let's see, at the mid-year we had him in the B tier. I'm actually comfortable. I'm comfortable on B tier for him. He was supposed to be a starter, so when we see a guy that kind of flounders out of that, it's hard to not be a little negative. But I'm back with the Swan man, and I'm keeping him in B tier.
Edwin Diaz was supposed to be a starter originally, so
yeah. I think we were unfair. So you know what? Hand in the air. Mea culpa. Eric Swanson, good bullpen piece. B tier.
I also put him in the B tier. Love the white glove guy. I think that's fucking hilarious. Yeah. I know that happened 18 months ago now, and I'm still fucking laughing at it.
Yeah, you love
Holy
that.
Shit.
That's
white
your
glove
thing.
Guy. Get that white glove out of here. What are you doing? You can't pitch with a white glove.
All right. Next up, we're getting down to the final stretch here. Abraham Toro, guy that came over in the Kendall Graveman trade with Joe Smith. He played in 60 games for us, 253 plate appearances, /252, 328, 367. I definitely have crazy mixed feelings about Abraham Toro. I don't know. What did you do with Toro? I just don't know.
Put him in the B tier. I'm not sure either. I'm not. Might be
I think
more
that's
fair
fine.
to say incomplete, but I do like what I saw from him.
Yeah,
Kind of reminds me
B or
of
C.
Sam Haggerty.
I kind of worry. I kind of think he's either going to be a stud for us or he's going to be like the super utility guy. I don't think. I will say this about him, and maybe this is why he gets B tier for me. He's not going to be he's not going to flounder out. I don't think he'll flounder out. I don't think he'll be a nobody. So I think B tier is pretty solid. All right, Luis Torrens. I know you have opinions on Luis Torrens. He played in 108 games for us, struggled as a catcher, but had success in spots as a designated hitter. Slash 243, 299, 431 with 15 home runs as the DH, where he played most of his spots. Where'd you put? Or should I go first? I'll go first. I think Luis.
Okay.
If I'm looking at my B tier and my C tier, I think he feels more comfortable for me in the C tier. Only because, yeah. Where did you have him?
I put him in the B tier. I actually like his hitting capabilities, and I like how mad it makes people when he pimps a fucking back fly, or when he pimps a fucking warning track power.
Yeah.
And he's like, hit that shit out, and then someone catches it, and the Mariner fans are like, fucking run, fuck you. I think that shit's really funny and really entertaining.
I like that. I like what you said. I also think I'm looking at my B tier and my C tier, and to me, he kind of fits more with the Tyler Anderson, Logan Gilbert, Eric Swanson, Abraham Toro than Fraley, Kellenic, Dylan Moore. So I'm gonna bump him up to B tier. Bump him up. I
think he is better than people say he is, or people's perspective of him. And I think if baseball moved to an electronic umpire system where they weren't trying to frame and do the fucking advanced sabermetric shit that they're doing right now, I think he would be on the better half of the professional catchers because he is that
I can see
friendly.
that. I can see that for sure. Yeah.
But at this point, I like him. I wish he was a better catcher. And if he was a better catcher, I think he would be higher on the tier list for me.
Yeah. All right, last three. We got Taylor Trammell here. Played in 51 games, 178 plate appearances, 160, 256, 359. Mainly because I don't want to figure out where he has to fit. I'm just going to go incomplete.
Taylor Trammell? Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I kind of think he might. He has the potential for at least to have had a D tier season. Definitely didn't live up to the hype.
I didn't see him as a power guy at all. I thought he was a hit and run guy, but he only hit bombs when he was with the Mariners.
That's true.
And he exclusively hit bombs. He thought he was Joey Gallo or some shit.
Yeah, and he had 25 hits, 8 of them were home runs.
Yeah. Yep.
And 7 of them were doubles. Half of his hits were half of his hits for the season were extra base hits.
Extra bases, yep.
All right, Next up, Donovan Walton. Donovan Walton played in 24 games, 63 at-bats, 206, 254, 365. I'm gonna go C tier. I think that's where I feel comfortable with Donnie.
I put incomplete.
I think that's fine too. I think the thing is that I don't think we're ever gonna see more than what we saw from him in a season in terms of playing time, right? So I don't want to give him an incomplete in the sense that if he's going to get incomplete this year, he's just always going to get an incomplete.
Seems like a guy we're going to trade away.
Yeah, definitely got potential there.
Probably for a pitcher.
Last up, 100% an incomplete guy, Evan White.
Yes.
I put him on here. Let's see. Evan White played in 30 games, 104 plate appearances, batted 144, 202, 273. I'm worried about Evan.
I'm not that worried about Evan. I think it's really important to say what we've seen from Evan has not been good, production-wise.
With a bat in his hand.
Realistically, we have only seen 90 games of Evan White.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. I think that's an absolutely fair point for you to make.
And everyone's like, fucking Ty France is really good. Evan White can't hit a ball to save his life. Get rid of him. But I don't know. He struggled at the beginning of the year because he was injured. He struggled last year because he was a rookie in a very irregular season. and he has a lot of upside, and we are guaranteed to continue to see him because he has another 5 years with the team guaranteed.
Yeah, a lot of control there, for sure.
So, like,
I will say this.
I don't know what people want.
Here's what I think about Evan White. There is a place for Evan White. It's just going to take... He's going to have to earn it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's no longer in a place where they're... Especially with what this team is aiming for, he's going to have to show that he can fit in with this team, that he has got the mettle to be on a playoff team.
Did you see that they plan on moving Ty France to first base, like, completely, and they've asked Evan White to start planning to play left field?
Interesting.
And I actually am really worried for that because I don't see Evan White being better than...
He could definitely hold it down. He's a great athlete. He's a great athlete.
It's not that I don't see him as a great athlete, but I don't see him competing at the level of Kyle Lewis, Jared Kelenic, Mitch Haniger, Julio Rodriguez. These names just have higher elevation to me.
I think it could work. I don't know if it will. I think it could work. And I also think it's incredibly possible that Ty France is going to need to fill in third or second.
Yeah.
So it might be moot, you know?
No, I absolutely agree, considering I don't imagine they get out of the 5 middle infielders with big names and big contracts coming up. I don't see them getting more than 1.
Mm-hmm.
And if they only get 1, I would imagine it's probably going to be Trevor Story or Marcus Semien, who will take over. I would imagine Semien will take over at second. I would imagine Trevor Story would take over at third. Or I guess Chris Bryant would be a third option, who would take over at third as well, right?
Yeah. So hypothetically, he could get into a battle with, like, Abraham Toro. Like, he might not have to beat out these other guys. He might have to beat out Abraham Toro, and then France moves to second, White goes to first, right?
I mean, his only other competition would be, like, a lesser big name infielder that we pick up in free agency, like, I don't even know. Like, if we picked up Brad Miller to play infield, outfield for us, or, you know, somebody on that kind of contractual level, I guess.
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for us on the tier list. We've put our tier list together. We'll be posting them to the Twitter account if you want to see them visually, or you can obviously look at my tier list is going to be in the video on YouTube. If you want to see more of us, we do put the podcast on YouTube. Put it on Spotify, we put it on Apple, we put it on Google. It's in a lot of different places, so, you know, obviously available there. If you like it, you know, feel free to, you know, give us a review or something, what the normal podcast people ask for. And we hope you guys, you know, we'll be back soon.
Smash that motherfucking like button.
Smash it. We'll be back soon within the next probably couple weeks to kind of prepare ourselves for the off season. But this is, for the most part, I think, going to be a wrap-up for us in the 2021 season. So, pretty good season for the Mariners. Pretty happy with where they're going, and definitely the expectations are going to be very high going into next season.
Yeah.
Any final words?
Go M's.
Go M's.
There's a drive, deep right field, say goodbye. Hey, Lloyd, do some delivery for the truck to the airport.